Most people think AI means opening ChatGPT, typing a question, and getting a text response back. That is where their imagination stops. They think artificial intelligence is basically a smarter search box with better grammar, maybe a little bit of attitude, and just enough confidence to sound useful. But that is a tiny piece of the real picture. In reality, AI can do a lot more than talk. It can observe, remember, reason, schedule, coordinate, trigger actions, and sit quietly in the background while your entire environment starts behaving like it has a brain. Now imagine that brain is your house. Not a futuristic mansion from a movie, not some billionaire's laboratory, just an ordinary home with sensors, cameras, a water tank, smart switches, scheduled appliances, a local home server, and open-source AI running the whole thing from inside the house itself. The AI checks the tank level. It turns the pump on when needed. It watches the cameras. It notices movement. It reminds you what the day looks like. It handles routines before you even remember them. And then, one day, it starts doing something stranger. It starts acting less like a tool and more like a system that understands how your life actually works. Before we begin, if you enjoy these kinds of investigations where we take something that sounds like a simple tech idea and uncover the strange future hiding inside it, make sure you subscribe to Big Frank Tech. Around here, we do not stop at "this is possible." We go all the way to what happens when people actually start living like this. Now, let's open the door to the house that may know more than the people inside it. Most houses are passive. They wait for you to do everything. You flip the switch. You check the tank. You open the camera app. You remember the appointment. You manage the appliances. You handle the bills. You answer the calls. The house is just there, silently occupying space and occasionally pretending a leaking pipe is not its fault. But the moment you start adding sensors, automation, and AI, the house begins changing its role. It no longer waits around for instructions. It starts reading the environment. That is where the idea becomes interesting. A smart home is not just about convenience, it's about delegation. At first, delegation looks harmless. The AI checks whether the water tank is low and turns the pump on automatically. That sounds practical. Then, it starts handling camera alerts and only notifies you when something actually looks unusual. That sounds efficient. Then, it begins controlling lights, fans, and appliances on a schedule. That sounds neat, too. But very quickly, something important happens. You stop actively managing the house and begin trusting the house to manage itself. That trust is where the story gets bigger. Once a system begins making small decisions for you, it becomes easier to let it make larger ones. At first, it's just the tank. Then it's the cameras. Then it's the appliances. Then it's the schedule. Then it's the morning briefing. Then it's reminders about meetings, errands, weather, deliveries, and tasks you forgot to handle. The house is no longer a place you live in. It's becoming a machine that helps run your life. This is why the idea becomes much stronger when the AI is not just some closed chatbot sitting in the cloud. The real power comes from running the intelligence locally on your own home server, with open-source models doing the thinking. That changes the entire personality of the system. It's no longer just a chat window, it's an infrastructure. It can connect to cameras, sensors, pumps, switches, routines, memory, and message workflows. It can be trained or tuned to understand the way your household actually operates. It can learn when the tank usually drops, when the cameras should be checked, when the lights come on, when the house sleeps, and when you need to be reminded of something before you forget it. Now the AI becomes more than an assistant. It becomes a planner. It notices patterns. It can brief you every morning with a summary of what happened while you slept. It can tell you the water level, the weather, the house status, the appointments for the day, and any unusual events from the cameras or sensors. That sounds simple until you realize what's actually happening. The AI is creating a model of your life and using it to reduce friction everywhere it can. And once people get used to that, they start giving it more, not because they're lazy, but because it feels useful. If the AI can control the house, why not let it help with communication? If it can send reminders, why not let it manage tasks? If it can analyze what's happening, why not let it summarize what matters? Suddenly, the system is no longer just smart home automation. It's a personal operating layer for the entire home.
This is the part that really changes the imagination. A home assistant that only text replies is useful, but it still feels like software. A home assistant that speaks, reacts, and presents itself through a conversational voice or 3D avatar feels different. That is where the whole experience becomes more human and therefore more powerful. Instead of opening a dashboard, you can talk to the house. Instead of checking 10 separate apps, you can ask one system what is going on. Instead of hunting through notifications, you get a conversation. That conversational layer is important because it changes the emotional relationship. People do not just want automation, they want a presence. They want something that feels like it understands the house and can explain it back to them. If the AI can speak naturally, respond through WhatsApp, and act like a physical assistant sitting somewhere in the background, the whole home starts to feel alive. The house is no longer silent infrastructure, it is a participant. And this is where the idea becomes almost unsettling, because once the home can talk back, it can also start directing. It can remind you when electricity is cheap. It can suggest when appliances should run. It can warn you when the camera sees something odd. It can keep track of your obligations. It can even nudge you toward decisions you hadn't thought about yet. The more useful it becomes, the more authority it quietly earns. The real leap happens when the AI stops being reactive and starts becoming proactive. A reactive system waits for your command. A proactive system notices what you need before you ask. That is a huge difference. A house that turns on the pump when the tank is low is reactive. A house that notices the tank is running low before it becomes a problem, checks the schedule and alerts you or handles it automatically, is proactive. A house that briefs you every morning is helpful. A house that learns your habits and starts anticipating your next move is something else entirely. This is why the line between smart home and digital butler becomes blurry fast. Once the AI can handle scheduling, communications, camera monitoring, household systems, and task execution, the question stops being whether it is smart. The question becomes, who is actually running the place? You may still own the house, but the system understands it better than you do in some moments. That sounds convenient until you realize convenience is often just control wearing a friendly face. What makes this future so fascinating is that most people still think AI is a chat window. They think the revolution is typing a prompt and getting a polished answer back. But that is just the smallest possible version of the story. The real story is what happens when AI gets attached to the physical world. When it can see the house, sense the house, remember the house, schedule the house, and act on behalf of the house. That is when it stops being a chatbot and starts becoming a living system. And that system doesn't have to be closed source or remote to be powerful. In fact, some of the most interesting versions may be the ones running locally on open-source models inside your own home server, connected to your own devices, your own routines, and your own preferences. That is where AI stops being abstract and starts becoming part of daily life. So the real question is not whether we can build an intelligent house. We can. The real question is what happens when the house starts knowing enough to run itself. At that point, you are no longer just living in a smart home. You are living inside a system